Okay, getting near the end of the second unit, we have lesson 16, relating scaled drawings to ratios and rates. So we've been working with ratios and rates, making unit rates, and now we're going to relate those to something called a scaled drawing. And so the opening exercise here, it just says, can you guess the image? So you've probably been looking at your paper already while I passed these things out and while you were getting logged on, but look at image number 1 and image number 2 and can you guess what they are? Image number 1 is a subway map. So it's on our paper, it's not full size, but it's a subway map. If you look at the second image, it's a fingerprint. Probably quite obvious. So why would we do something so easy for the opening exercise? Because we're going to learn 2 vocabulary words that we need to know for this lesson. And those 2 vocabulary words are enlargement and reduction. So when we're talking about scale drawings, an enlargement is taking something that is small and making it bigger. And reduction is the opposite of that. It's taking an image that is big and making it smaller. So we'll be using both of those words. We're going to practice here in the opening exercise. So if you look at number 1, it's a subway map. It's on your paper. And if you were actually holding a subway map, it would be bigger than that. So the one that you're looking at is a reduction. This is smaller than the actual subway map would be. The opposite of that is the fingerprint. On your paper, it's pretty large, and it's much bigger than an actual fingerprint would be. So you're looking at an enlargement of the fingerprint. Now everything about it is the same as the smaller fingerprint would be. It's just blown up into a bigger picture. So when we're talking about scale drawings, you're either taking something that's big and shrinking it down, or you're taking something that's small and blowing it up. It looks exactly the same. Everything about it is the same. The size is just different. So again, these are pretty simple. Just focusing on vocabulary. If we look at example number 1 for the following problems, A is the actual picture and B is the drawing. Is the drawing an enlargement or a reduction of the actual picture? So if we look at number 1, A, we have the actual picture, and B, we have the drawing. It obviously got bigger from A to B, so it is as simple as that. This one is an enlargement. And if you look at number 2, we have a ruler. It goes from 0 to 10 in part A. And then in part B, that ruler is shrunk down. Everything about it's the same except its size is scaled down. So this one is a reduction. Moving on to example 2, we'll have another vocabulary term here. But let's read the paragraph and highlight things that are important. Derek's family took a day trip to a modern public garden. Derek looked at his map of the park that was a reduction of the map located at the garden entrance. The dots represent the placement of rare plants. The diagram below is the top view as Derek held his map while looking at the posted map. So kind of confusing. Let's label this. Alright, so we've labeled these 2, and you can pause for a second if you need to. Derek's map is the smaller one. He's holding that in his hands. And then the larger one is the map that's on the wall. So if you look at these 2 maps, they're the same, but you should be able to notice some differences about them. Derek is holding his map in a different way than the one that's on the wall. So if you look here, this is a part where it's easy to see. This part of the garden, it kind of looks like a D on Derek's map. And on the wall map, it looks like a backwards D. So he's holding it at a different orientation than it is at the one on the wall. So that can make it confusing as to where he should go. So if we look down here, it says, what are the corresponding points of the scale drawing of the map? Here's what a lot of people think, that point A here on Derek's map corresponds to point W on the map on the wall. So if we said point A corresponds to point W, because it looks like it does, that's actually incorrect. And here's why. If we bring up the map that's on the wall and we rotate it so that it matches Derek's map, the letters are upside down, but you'll see now if you look at that D shape on the map, they're facing the same direction now. So now he's holding his map the same way that it is on the wall. And you'll see that point A actually corresponds to point R on the wall map and not point W. If we look at point V on Derek's map and we bring up the map rotated the correct direction, that corresponds with point W. Point H on his map corresponds with point P. And last, point Y on Derek's map corresponds with point N on the wall map. So one of the vocabulary terms is orientation. And that means that it's in the same position. So the way that the maps are displayed here, one is rotated 180 degrees or a half a turn different from Derek's map. So you have to make sure that you have them spun the correct way and oriented the right way. And then the last part, or the last definition is corresponding points. So which ones match up from Derek's map to the wall map? So again, that term is corresponding. What that means is the same spot on either an enlargement or on a reduction. So to clarify that one more time, point A on Derek's map corresponds with point R on the garden map. They're the same location. Moving on to the next example. Now this part you're going to have some time to work on your own. I'm going to do a little bit of it with you, and then I'll pause my video and it'll all kind of just appear there, but you're going to pause when I tell you to, and you'll be able to work through a lot of this on your own. So we have a drawing of a robot, and we're going to make an enlargement and a reduction of that robot. So here's how you start. We're going to start at this point, and we're going to start at this point, and we are going to make the enlargement first. So I need to find the location of that point for my enlargement. I'm going to start by doing this. It is down 1, 2, 3 units from the top. And it comes in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units. Right. So that's going to give me a good starting point for my enlargement, because the units are going to be the same. It's just a larger grid. So let's get this one started. Let's go 3 units down. 1, 2, 3, and 8 units in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's my corresponding part of the robot, his left side of his head. And then the next thing I'm going to do is count how many units across his head is. 1, 2, 3, 4 units across. I'll do the same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4 units across. Connect the dot. There we go. I have the top of my robot's head. Next thing I'm going to do is count how tall his head is. 1, 2, 3, 4 units tall. So I can do that here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I know that this will be the bottom of his head. And we'll do his shoulders together. So now I know this about his shoulders. Let's see how far they start in from the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units in. So I'm going to do the same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units in. This is the start of his left shoulder, the way that we're looking at him. And then I'm going to count how far across his shoulders go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units across. So here we go with that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have to do a little bit of erasing here. But now I have his shoulders drawn to scale as well. And as you can see, this takes a little bit of time, and you have to be accurate with it. So no problem if this takes you a little bit of class time to get this figured out. Next I can see, and this is the last part I'm going to do with you, if I try to draw these diagonal lines, I see that it's 1 unit in where his head connects to his shoulders. So I'm going to go 1 unit in, and then I can draw that diagonal line here, 1 unit in from his shoulders. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and hit pause. I'm going to complete my picture, and then you can unpause it and see what it should look like. Alright, so if you completed your robot correctly, it should look exactly the same as the orange one, except an enlargement. So compare it to mine, and it should match up pretty good. You're going to do your reduction one as well, but I have 2 minutes of recording time left, so we're going to make sure to take a quick look at example number 3. So go ahead and read it. And we're going to take a look. So Celeste drew an outline of a building from a diagram she was making, and then drew the second one mimicking her original drawing. State the coordinates of the vertices and fill in the table. Actually going to run out of recording time here. So example number 3 we are going to work through as a class up here on the big screen. So go ahead once this video is over and close your Chromebook down. We'll take a look at example number 3 together.